Hello everyone, this is Tetrafolium, and I'm here for my 300 subscribers special. I asked in a poll, would you guys rather see a video about Zapdos or Suicune? And Zapdos won by a pretty fair margin. Not super surprising, because I think Zapdos is a really cool Pokemon. Suicune is also really cool. It's a little bit on the simpler end as compared to Zapdos, but I can get more into that when I eventually do a Suicune video. But I'm actually a little bit glad that, well, in some ways I'm glad that we're doing a Zapdos video, because Zapdos is one of my favorite Pokemon to use in this tier. Although, it was a little bit of a challenge to find a new set to use for Zapdos, because I've used quite a few Zapdos sets. Most of my variants have been modest Zapdos, and we'll see if I bucked that trend today or if I did not. The music today is going to be Mount Thunder from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. I really like the soundtrack of Blue and Red Rescue Team, and I think that Rescue Team DX did a really good job of remixing some of this stuff for the modern day. I really like how it sounds as well. So forgive me if you're an old head like me and you prefer the previous stuff, but I kind of wanted to give some love to Rescue Team DX, and also I've got an animated sprite at the top. Let me know if you like that, and maybe I'll do that for future videos as well. Alright, so for the ADV Viability Rankings, we actually are talking about the number 5 Pokemon on the aggregate rankings. That is awesome. It's nice to be talking about a Pokemon who's like legitimately one of the best in the tier. As far as this ranking goes, there are plenty of people who would even put Zapdos as high as number 3. Fear, Violet River, and Endel, all very accomplished players in their own right, rank Zapdos as number 3, as well as a few others. I think Pixie909, if I remember correctly, also has Zapdos at number 3. But there's one person who's not as high on Zapdos, and wouldn't you guess it? It's ABR. ABR has Zapdos ranked, I believe, 20th. Not quite as low as Salamence, who's not even above Electabuzz. Okay, that's a joke. I snuck Electabuzz in there. That's ABR did not rank Electabuzz, surprisingly enough. But I want to note that ABR actually has Raikou ranked above Zapdos, so ABR doesn't even think Zapdos is the best electric type. Now, I guess, granted, you have to take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, because the way that ABR did his rankings were based on his usage stats across a few tournaments. I believe ADV Revival 1 and the Gymvitational. So it's possible that he doesn't actually truly believe Zapdos is not as good as Milotic and Cloyster. It's just that he happened to use Milotic and Cloyster a few more times. But ABR also says that he uses things that are good and he doesn't use things that he doesn't think are good, implying that he thinks that Salamence is not good because he didn't use it at all. But let's read what he has to say. Honestly, he is not a big fan of Zapdos. He feels like on spikeless teams it needs Dugtrio for progress, but he often prefers a mon like Jinx and Explosion users to guarantee the progress. On Spikes teams, Zapdos can make progress, but he prefers Blissey as a special wall, and it gives Claydol the opportunity to spin. I assume meaning Zapdos. Unless you're using a Ghost type, but Scarm Zap Gengar is already a lot of slots and really only fits on a Superman style. I guess that makes sense. If ABR chooses to use it, he runs Spadef EVs alongside a Flygon, most likely. Yeah, actually, I think that's pretty valid. That Zapdos lends itself to certain partners, but sometimes those partners are not exactly the kind of team style that you want. But I also think that there's a little bit of missing stuff here, is that Zapdos is really good at forcing switches, if for no other reason than it's really bulky and it has roar. So it fits really well on spike structures regardless. In fact, the Big Five style, which if you're watching this, you probably know what Big Five is, but if you're not familiar, it's the team that uses Tyranitar, Skarmory, Blissey, Gengar, and Swampert. And then the sixth Pokemon can kind of cycle out. The one of the most classic styles is with Starmie as the sixth. So you have a spinner. That team is called Beer Lover. I believe UD or Undisputed was the one who came up with that, but I might be wrong. Somebody, if I am wrong about that, correct me in the comments section. But Zapdos is another very common Pokemon to slot into that Big Five because with Roars and Spike support and Sand, you can rack up a lot of passive damage. And yeah, Zapdos is really good at taking on the bulky waters that otherwise can be a little annoying for the Big Five structure. Gengar can only do but so much to threaten them with Thunderbolt, for example. But yeah, this is ABR's take. I respect ABR's take, even though I call his viability rankings insane, because he is a really good player, and I think it's important to understand what a really good player might have reservations about regarding the Pokemon that we're examining. I'm gonna recycle some of the content from my Charizard video here because I think that this is a really important part of Zapdos' game. We're going to talk about the base 100s once again. That's, of course, meaning Pokemon that have a base 100 speed stat. For those of you who did not watch my Charizard video, in this red box are all the OU ranked Pokemon that have exactly a base 100 stat. Down below are the BL Pokemon that have a base 100 stat. And then off to the side are all the Pokemon who are faster than base 100. Shoutouts to Kadabra making the cut. Such an unfortunate Pokemon because it's too good for UU, so it's not going to drop down. But like, why would you use it in UUBL when you have Alakazam as well? And then why would you use it in OU, period? But I digress. This is, again, another chart that I showed in my Charizard video outlining the moves that each of these Pokemon get to hit the other base 100s. And I want to note Zapdos at the bottom. So Thunderbolt on Charizard obviously is very good. HP Ice into Flygon and Salamence obviously very good. But Jirachi and Celebi give Zapdos some issues. As well as opposing Zapdos, depending on your set, but we will talk about that a little bit more later. Celebi, yes, you can hit it super effective with HP Ice and Drill Peck, but you are either going to have to run significant attack investment for Drill Peck to even 2-hit KO Celebi, which is important because you definitely want to be 2-hit KOing a Pokemon with Recover and not 3-hit KOing, because then you're giving them an extra turn to do something in between their recovers, unless you crit, of course. But playing for the crit is not the ideal situation, especially in Team Builder. So, but yeah, so HP Ice is also pretty much never going to 2-hit KO Celebi, unless the Celebi is like very, very offensive. So, yeah, Zapdos is a little bit struggling into Celebi. And then Jirachi, it's kind of the same deal. You do not get a move to hit Jirachi. HP Fire, that's just, no, don't do that. Thunderbolt is going to be doing more anyway. So, but how much does Thunderbolt do? That depends on the Jirachi set. You can do up to 50% on some of the more offensive Jirachis, but there are some Jirachis that run Spadef investment, in which case you might not be getting the 2-hit KO even on Jirachi, which is really tough, especially on the Wish variants of Jirachi, or like Wish Calm Mind is extremely difficult for Zapdos to break through. You're going to have to roar. And that's kind of the conclusion that we're going to hit here, is that Zapdos has a harder time hitting the other base 100s than most of the other ones. Like Jirachi's got great coverage against all the base 100s. Charizard's got really good coverage as well. Salamence even can do something, although I don't know if I would run HP Flying and Dragon Claw on the same set. But I think you can manage it with Salamence not being able to hit, say, Flygon. Let's go on to look at what makes Zapdos really good, despite maybe not having as great a matchup into the other base 100s. And I think that the thing that sticks out is the special attack stat. It is higher than any of the other base 100s. And in fact, this is the list of OU viable Pokemon who have a special attack stat as high as Zapdos's or higher. So, as we can see, Zapdos is tied for 4th with Moltres at base 125, but most of its competitors are Psychic types. This would include Alakazam, Espeon, Exeggutor, and Gardevoir, which is a pretty mediocre defensive type. And then if we look at the defensive profiles of these Pokemon, they have horrendous defense stats, particularly their HP and physical defense. I mean, Exeggutor's is not super terrible, but Grass Psychic is not the best type. Celebi kind of gets away with it because it has phenomenal stats and Recover and Leech Seed. Exeggutor, I believe, still gets Leech Seed. Let me check that actually. I've not used Exeggutor at all in this tier, so you'll have to forgive my lack of Exeggutor knowledge. But I believe, yes, you still get Leech Seed, although you are a lot slower, so you're not going to be able to get the fast Leech Seeds off. Although I don't know actually if that really matters how fast you are for Leech Seed, but yeah, Exeggutor's got a lot of problems. But it does have Explosion, which is kind of cool. In any case, this is not even about Exeggutor. This is about Zapdos. But another thing that is kind of an issue with Psychic types is that its Stab, and particularly its Stab move Psychic, is not super duper high value coverage. You hit Poison and Fighting types super effective, which is good, but like the amount of Fighting and Poison types that are like OU viable is not exactly like super high. Breloom, Heracross, Blaziken, Hariyama, Machamp, sure, like you will see some of these from time to time. Medicham, I guess, is also a fighting type, but it's not weak to Psychic thanks to its secondary Psychic typing. So that doesn't really count. And then as for poison types, I mean, you're slim pickings. Gengar, I mean, that's the most prominent one, but you have Venusaur and Weezing as well. Crobat is UUBL ranked, but that thing is terrible in OU, so that doesn't really count either. I guess you could hit Muck, Nidoking, Nidoqueen, potentially Quillfish, and I have seen Vileplume before on the ladder, and I think I've seen Tentacruel as well, so maybe there's a handful of poison types that are like seen on occasion, but for the vast majority of the cases, you're going to be seeing Gengar, and like Gengar is not exactly the most valuable Pokemon to hit for super effective damage, particularly because it has pretty weak defenses. I mean, you can see it on screen right now. 60 HP, 60 defense, 75 special defense. That's not really lighting the world on fire. So I'm gonna give a little red star, 4-point star, obviously, because I just love Jirachi so much. Next to all of these Psychic types, as to denote that while they're, they definitely have their use cases, they're a little bit limited. If you compare to Moltres and Zapdos with their electric and fire coverage, not respectively, I said that in the wrong order, like they're not able to hit steel types in particular, and Metagross is one of the biggest gatekeepers of psychic types being really good in this format, as well as Tyranitar, who is completely immune to psychic moves. Now, we also have Gengar here, who has a really staggering 130 special attack. That's phenomenal. But the problem with Gengar is it has no special stab, so it feels a little bit weaker than its 130 might suggest. That's not to say that Gengar is weak by any means. It has, well, literally the strongest neutral coverage in the game. I mean, yes, Alakazam technically has 5 more base special attack, but Alakazam doesn't get access to Thunderbolt. It does get access to Ice Punch, I believe. Pretty sure, anyway. Let me check that again before I start spreading misinformation on the internet. Yes, it has all elemental punches, including Thunder Punch and Fire Punch and Focus Punch, which I'm dubbing that as an elemental punch right now. But yeah, Gengar is beating Alakazam on electric coverage for sure. It is, I think, pretty much tied everywhere else. Ice Punch, Fire Punch, Hidden Power Grass. Yes, Gengar gets Psychic, but obviously Alakazam's Psychic is stronger thanks to its stab. So that's kind of the rub. I mean, Gengar's got really interesting defensive utility, which is why you would use it more commonly, and Alakazam is less commonly used. But I think that this lack of special stab kind of is a little bit of a knock on Gengar, so I'm going to give it a purplish blue star. I don't know. I'm colorblind, so I kind of have a lot of trouble telling the difference between blue and purple. But I digress. That's leaves us with Moltres and Zapdos, and they kind of compete for the strongest special moves that don't die to Fortress. That's kind of a joke. Most of the Psychic types do not get one shot by Fortress, but some of them, Exeggutor in particular, might. So that's good to know, I guess. But yeah, Moltres with its Fire Blast, Zapdos with its Thunder, those are basically the 2 strongest moves in the tier. Yes, technically, well, no, I mean, with the base attack of those, that's even higher than Alakazam's Psychic, so that's really good. And then I want to note that Stab is a much, much bigger boost than 5 base special attack, especially when we're talking about Pokemon that have this high of special attack stat. So that is basically the argument here, is that Zapdos has the strongest special stab in the game, essentially, tied with Moltres. Let's talk about those special attacks. So the first one, probably the one that you're going to see most commonly on Zapdos, is Thunderbolt, which is 95 base power in this generation, 100 accuracy, and a 10% chance to paralyze the target. And I have this calc here. 252 special attack Zapdos against a Choice Band Metagross, which usually runs 128 HP. We are very, very favored to get the 2-hit KO on Metagross, which is, I think, really good, especially for a Pokemon that doesn't have super effective damage into Metagross. Like, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, a lot of other Pokemon, they're relying on Earthquake, but they're hitting on Metagross's way higher physical defense stat. And yes, a lot of really competent Pokemon with Earthquake can get the 2-hit KO on Metagross, but there are also a lot of them scared of taking a Meteor Mash or an Earthquake in return, but Zapdos actually stomachs both of those moves quite well. It's got a resistance to Meteor Mash and then an immunity to Earthquake, so that is really good for Zapdos. But if you're not satisfied with the damage of Thunderbolt for whatever reason, you could go a little stronger and get Thunder, which is a 120 base power move in this generation. 70% accuracy with a 30% chance to paralyze the target. It also, I believe, bypasses accuracy check in Rain. I am not sure if it is perfect or if it's just 100% accurate. I think I read that it's perfect in this generation, so might be able to get past a Sand Attack Ninjask in that case. But again, if I'm wrong about that, correct me down in the comments section. But I want to look at this calc here. Now we're 252 modest using Thunder into Suicune, who is a notoriously difficult Pokemon to beat down. But with this, we actually are favored to get a one-shot kill on the defensive Suicune set. This is really, really big because pretty much no other Pokemon has a chance to do this unboosted. Like Magneton, I guess gets pretty close because it's got the 120 special attack if you want to do that, and then you could, it's very incentivized to run Magnet, although I don't know if I would run Magnet Thunder. I mean, that seems a little overkill, but yeah, basically no other Pokemon can even get close to this damage unboosted, so that's really cool. Yeah, and I know it's super effective damage, but like think about that. Think about how strong Suicune is defensively, and like how willing you are to boom on it to remove it. And Zapdos doesn't even need to boom; it just needs to hit a 70% accurate move, which, I mean, that's honestly worse than death sometimes. But there's definitely arguments for Thunder here. And then the last move that Zapdos will generally have for special attacks, I mean, generally, actually, you're going to pick one of Thunderbolt or Thunder, and then you're going to have HP something. Hidden power is 70 base power, 100% accuracy. The type depends on the IVs. I think the base power also technically depends on the IVs, but since we can customize our Pokemon to our heart's content in Pokemon Showdown, I don't know why you would use a base power lower than 70. But the two that Zapdos will generally pick between are Ice and Grass. So Ice gets you an OHKO on Salamence with a timid nature, so you can outspeed / speed tie every Salamence and basically get the kill on it with HP Ice. There are a few Salamence sets that are running a lot of Spadef to try to survive a Blissey Ice Beam that you might not get the OHKO on with Zapdos, but those are fairly rare, and oftentimes are not even packing Rock Slide to hit you, so you can kind of get away with that. And then if you're modest, you can OHKO a defensive Flygon, which is really nice. Defensive Flygon is not even going to get close to what Zapdos wants to run in its speed stats, so that's it's pretty good. I guess, well, there is one Zapdos set that runs pretty slow, but we'll talk about that later. Grass is primarily to hit Swampert. You'll get the 2-hit KO on pretty much every Swampert set, and then you will sometimes OHKO offensive Pert. It may depend on whether you're modest or timid, and exactly how much HP the offensive Pert is running, but yeah, that's pretty nice to know. I should mention that Ice is also in part to hit Celebi. Generally speaking, you're not going to you're not going to one-hit KO Celebi. You're probably not going to two-hit KO Celebi either. But like, if you don't have HP Ice, you are literally doing 0 damage to Celebi. I mean, it's resisting Thunderbolt and HP Grass, so we'll keep that in mind. So what about its other special attack options? And it's a bad question to ask. The aforementioned moves are pretty much the only good special attacks that Zapdos gets, but we're going to take a look at its other options, and this is pretty much the exhaustive list of them. We have Extra Sensory, which is a Psychic type move, 80 base power, a 10% chance to flinch. It's not great. I mean, I just kind of talked about how Psychic coverage is not the best. And if you don't get Psychic Stab, it's almost never worth running a Psychic move for coverage. And Extra Sensory is not even quite as strong as Psychic, so there's not really much point in using it. I guess you could fish for the 10% flinch chance. That was a little bit more of a tongue twister than I thought it was going to be. But that's like really cheesy. And if you're fishing for 10% flinch chance, why not just fish for like 30% para chance with Thunder. Yeah, maybe you could get like the para flinch idea going, but 10% is not enough to really move the needle. And then you're not hitting anything really. Like, I guess it gives you a move to hit Venusaur, but if you're teching a move to hit Venusaur on your Zapdos, like, I don't know what to tell you. Just like run a fire type or something, please. Or like an actual psychic type. We have Shockwave, which has perfect accuracy, so that will help us beat Ninjask, who is sand attacking us, I guess. I mean, it's still not great because Ninjask can just pass to Marowak, and now we have to hit a, like, 75, 60%, 50% accurate, like, HP grass or ice, and we're also slower because of all the speed boosts, so, I mean... Yeah, there's not really a use case for Shockwave. There's Thundershock, which can help you win the PP stall war against like a rest Zapdos. If you're both max but def, their Thunderbolt is not going to 2-hit KO you. It's probably not even going to 3-hit KO you if there's no sand up. And you can kind of just like match rest with them, and then Thundershock is going to give you a lot more PP. Well, double the PP, I should say, of Thunderbolt. So, yeah, that maybe is a consideration. I guess. I mean, probably not. That's it. There's nothing else. It doesn't get like Heat Wave or Hurricane or anything this generation. No, it does not. So the question might be then, how do you fill out your remaining move slots? You might do Thunder, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power, but generally you're picking between one of Thunder or Thunderbolt. You're usually not going to run both. I guess maybe you could run both if you like are just an all-out attacking Zapdos, but that's not super duper common. Usually you're going to run Thunderbolt and then you're going to pick a Hidden Power. So you have 2 move slots. What are you going to do with those? So the other move options for Zapdos, first one is to take advantage of Zapdos' base 90 attack stat, which is not bad. Definitely not the worst of any Pokemon that we've seen. I mean, Steelix has a lower attack stat than that, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Steelix is 85, so, you know, that's nothing to scoff at, 90. We have Flying for Stab as well. So Drill Peck, which is an 80 base power move, 100 accuracy, has no additional effects. No, it does not have an increased critical hit ratio, Zets. It is the same as every other move. You might be thinking of Drill Run, maybe, which I don't know actually. Zets, did you ever play a generation that has Drill Run as a move? I think it came around in Gen 5, so I don't know. I'm talking to like Zets is gonna watch this video. I mean, why would he watch some small timer like me? But the calc that I have on screen here is from a standard Zapdos set called Mixed Zapdos, using Drill Peck into a 252 HP Celebi set. There are definitely a few Celebi sets that are running 252 HP. It's not quite the bulkiest Celebi set that you could run, but this is one of the typical ones. You're getting a 3-hit KO after Leftovers recovery. If Sand is up, you have a decent shot to get a 2-hit KO, and especially with Sand Chip on the back end. So if you're up against, say, like an offensive Celebi who is running even less HP than this, you're going to 2-hit KO them. And if you're running up against, say, like a Baton Pass set that is not using Recover, you can maybe 2-hit KO it in Sand as well. And I want to note that with this particular spread, Drill Peck is doing about 4% more than max modest HP Ice would to Celebi. It kind of depends on Celebi's defense versus special defense investment. I believe that this particular Celebi that I was looking at this calc has neither defense nor special defense investment. I think it's running the rest in speed and special attack. So that could skew the results a little bit. If it's running a lot more defense investment, maybe it's trying to live a Dugtrio HP bug, then HP Ice might do a little bit more, but generally speaking, you're going to be doing more with Drill Peck on this particular mixed Zapdos set. Um, but maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you're like, I don't think it's worth teching a move specifically for Celebi. I mean, it still could hit Blissey decently hard, but like that's going to also be in the 3-hit or 4-hit KO range. So like, I don't know if that's super duper worth it to you. But let's take a look at Zapdos's status moves. It gets a lot of really good ones, and here they are. So we have Agility, Baton Pass, Light Screen, Protect. We also have Detect, but I chose to axe that because, I mean, Detect is just worse Protect. I mean, it's literally the same move with half the PP. So just use Protect. If somebody's using Imprison Protect to stop you from getting your Protect off, just let them have the win. I mean, they really deserve it for something like that. You also have Rain Dance, Rest, Roar, Sleep Talk, Substitute, Sunny Day, Thunderwave, and Toxic. So lots of really, really good options here. Thunderwave Toxic for the double status. That could be kind of interesting. You have Rain Dance or Sunny Day to clear the weather. Substitute and Protect, I mean, obviously every Pokemon gets that, but Zapdos having really nice bulk can kind of make use of both of those. And then Zapdos is a somewhat high value boom target. A lot of Pokemon like Claydol and Metagross, who may not have another move to hit Zapdos, might just try to boom on it. And if you can Protect or Substitute to block the boom, then like Zapdos is running away with advantage. It's already a decently difficult Pokemon to switch into. You're going to need a dedicated special wall or something with like something like a Swampert on an HP Ice Zapdos or like Celebi or something like that. So if you don't have like exactly those mons, like you're kind of in trouble, especially if you lose a Pokemon to boom and you don't even kill the Zapdos for it. But I think the top two moves, you probably have kind of been distracted by this bracket here. Agility and Baton Pass, that allows Zapdos to be a speed passer. So you don't have to use Ninjask for your cheesy speed pass strategies. You can use Zapdos for those cheesy strategies. I don't think that Zapdos is as dishonest as Ninjask for this, by the way. Zapdos definitely like stands on its own. It doesn't need this gimmick to work, but it is kind of nice that you can pass an agility off to something. And I think that there's a little bit of opportunity cost and risk associated with going for agility. That's a turn that you're not attacking your opponent, and your opponent could just attack you and do a lot of damage. Whereas Ninjask can kind of just hide behind Substitute and Protect until it's satisfied and past the speed boost. So to me, that's why Ninjask is kind of dishonest. And it would not be a Tetrafolium video if I'm not trashing on Ninjask. I mean, that's not true. I don't want to talk about Ninjask every video, so it can still be a Tetrafolium video without trashing Ninjask. I accidentally scrolled up, which is why that went away. If you're watching this podcast style, then ignore that. But now let's talk about some of the standard sets, and this is where I want to spend some time because Zapdos is an integral part of this metagame, and it runs a couple, or really a few different sets. So I want to take some time to really like dive into what these options are, and it has so many different options here. You see that fourth move slot, you have 4 different options there, and that's not even like super duper comprehensive. Like you can have some other ones that are not even mentioned here, but this is the standard offensive Zapdos. This is what most Zapdos are going to be. Max special attack, max speed. They recommend timid, but I think that modest is perfectly reasonable to run for the Zapdos. And let's read a little bit about the Smogon write-up here. Hidden Power Grass threatens Swampert, and Hidden Power Ice chips Celebi. This comparison is emphasized because Swampert is strong against physical threats, but weak against mixed threats, while Celebi is the other way around. Which kind of tells you that Zapdos can pick its coverage depending on what your team can do. And that makes sense, right? You don't necessarily need HP Grass if you have 2 or 3 other Pokemon that can handle Swampert, right? Maybe you just want HP Ice so you can get a kill on Salamence, who might be a little more trouble for your team. Or if you want to have a move to hit Celebi harder, for example, which Celebi can be a little difficult to handle, especially if you're not using like HP Bug on a Pokemon that successfully lures Celebi in. And no, Tyranitar does not successfully lure Celebi in anymore. That ship has sailed 20 years ago. But no, there are a lot of Pokemon who can try to lure Celebi in and take it on. Flygon is an example. If you want to use like a toxic Flygon, spam Earthquake, make the Celebi think that you don't have HP Bug, and then bam, hit it with when you've got it. Although be careful, because Celebi sometimes runs HP Ice itself, and that would not be good for your Flygon to take. But in any case, yeah, Zapdos. It's going to use its hidden power type to fill gaps in coverage for your team. Thunderbolt, I mean, that's a given. Like, that's your strong and reliable stat move. And then for the other 2 move slots, you have Thunderwave or Toxic. I think it's really nice to have at least one of these, because status is a huge part of this metagame. Thunderwave can shut down Pokemon that really like to use their speed stat to threaten opponents. Take, for example, let's say like a Salamence, right? Salamence, it likes to Dragon Dance up, or it likes to be Choice Band and just throw off heavy hits. And if you can Thunderwave that, well, now Salamence is slower than basically everything on your team. So yeah, you can hit it before it hits you. And Salamence, it doesn't have bad bulk, but it's getting 2-hit KO'd by a lot of strong hits. So if you have something that can trade into it like a Swampert, then like you're looking really good. And Swampert can even get the one shot because of Ice Beam. So that's pretty nice. Toxic is also really nice, particularly if you're on like a TSS type of team. TSS, of course, standing for Tyranitar, Skarmory, Swampert. Okay, no, it stands for Toxic, Sand, and Spikes, but I do think it's really funny when people comment about me saying TSS the wrong way. But you know, Toxic is really nice for those. It racks up the passive damage. It can force switches, and a lot of times you will see Toxic plus Roar on Spike's teams to really rack up the passive damage, force a lot of switches, make it really difficult for Pokemon like Blissey and Starmie to find a foothold, despite the fact that they're supposed to be a little bit more resilient against status. So that's a big deal. But the last move, Roar's really good on Spike's teams. I would highly recommend, if you have Spikes, use Roar. But even if you're not on a Spikes team, Roar can be really nice to phase the Calm Mind spammers. You know, yes, Thunderbolt is going to do a lot of damage to Suicune, but eventually Suicune is going to boost high enough that you're going to have to get a crit, and Roar can help you out so you don't have to play for the crit. I guess unless it's last mon Suicune, then you're kind of forced to play for it. But there's more counterplay to last mon Suicune than simply critting it. So keep that in mind. Baton Pass is really nice for generating momentum. Really good on lead Zapdos, which Zapdos is one of the most common leads in the metagame for a lot of good reasons, which we may talk about with some of these other sets. But standard Zapdos is standard offensive Zapdos is one of the really good lead sets. Baton Pass is really nice to switch to something like a Dugtrio. A lot of Pokemon that are weak to, or a lot of Pokemon that would like to switch into Zapdos, including Blissey and Celebi, do not necessarily like to see a Dugtrio. Now, I would not go Baton Pass, hard Dugtrio on a Celebi, go for HP Bug, and then not kill it, and then die to Giga Drain. Like, that sounds like a really bad proposition. But over the course of the game, a lot of times Pokemon will continue to switch into Zapdos, and when they get safe, when they feel like they're safe, like their Celebi is like, okay, I'm fine. I took an HP Ice chip, but that's okay. I can go for my Leech Seed easy on this Zapdos, and then recover the next turn. That's when you can Baton Pass to Dugtrio and eliminate it. But yeah, Blissey again is a very common switch, and if you go to Dugtrio, especially if you're beat up Doug with enough bulk to survive Ice Beam, you can eliminate the Blissey right away, and that frees up a lot for a Zapdos team, especially if you're running mixed / special offense with your Zapdos. Protect is really nice to get some chip healing outside of Sand, but also good for scouting things like Choice Band Pokemon, and stopping Boom. And then Toxic is here as well. There is dual status on Zapdos is a valid set. I've run it before on a team, and I thought that it was kind of nice. Yeah, there's some Pokemon that you would like to Thunder Wave and some Pokemon that you would like to Toxic, and Zapdos, I mean, yes, you can get a lot of value out of the fourth move slot here using something like Roar or Baton Pass, or even Substitute is a potential option here. But sometimes you're just like, man, I just want to spread that status, and yeah, I think that there's definitely a valid case for Thunder Wave Toxic. Now and another thing about Toxic is that could be your move to hit Swampert. Not every Swampert is going to run Refresh, so you might be able to get away with going Toxic, Toxicking the Swampert. That's ticking it down, and you can beat it down with HP Ice. You don't necessarily need HP Grass to beat it. So that's definitely an argument for Toxic there. Now let's go on to the next set. Rest. So this is a very strange thing. If you've never played ADV before, you might be looking at like Zapdos and saying, why would I want to use Rest? Like, that seems like really weak. You're not taking advantage of Zapdos' best trait, which is its special attack stat, but you are taking advantage of one of Zapdos' other great traits, is that it's got some nice bulk, and Electric Flying is a pretty decent defensive type. It's not fantastic. You would like to not be weak to Rock Slide, but you do resist and are immune to a lot of really powerful moves, like what I mentioned previously, Meteor Mash and Earthquake on Metagross in particular. But also, it's nice to resist fighting. Could be helpful for switching in to like a Hariyama or a Metacham or something as they're trying to bully your Tyranitar. So Rest is kind of going full special defense, and Zapdos is pretty nice as a special defensive wall. Pretty much the only move that can hit Zapdos on the special side for very significant damage is Ice Beam. And not every Pokemon is fortunate enough to get Ice Beam. Some Pokemon are having to make do with Ice Punch, but that reduction in base power is enough for Zapdos to sometimes get away with living 2 of those hits. Not always, but sometimes. And yeah, you can kind of Rest Loop, and it's really nice synergy with its ability Pressure. Pressure doubles the PP usage of most moves that are used on Zapdos. So you can Rest and force your opponent to use up a lot of their PP, and essentially just PP stall them, which is really nice. That's why Light Screen is a really nice option for Rest Zapdos as the fourth move. You can set up a Light Screen, then you can Rest, and then the opponent is basically going to have to crit you with their special attacker in order to stop the Zapdos from successfully PP stalling it. Toxic is preferred on Rest Zapdos because of the amount of turns that you're going to be staying in and the amount of turns you're going to be ticking off for the toxic damage. And then I did mention Light Screen as a great option there, but Roar and Rain Dance are also fine. Rain Dance is great if you need Weather Clear, and Zapdos appreciates not having to take sand damage with its rest set, although it's kind of okay if you don't get the rest off. Zapdos can kind of function similar to Suicune, where, yeah, sand is not great for Suicune, but Suicune can still take 2 or 3 hits from a lot of different moves, so you're not so bad going for rest in the sand, but it does complicate your life a little bit, so that's something to note. Roar is great again for Spike's teams. It's also great for punishing Pokemon that are trying to boost against your Zapdos. One move slot option that we don't really talk about with this set, but could definitely work, is Sleep Talk. Sleep Talk with Roar can help you out against, again, Pokemon that are trying to boost in front of you, like say a Cursed Snorlax or a bunch of the Calm Minders. If you can Sleep Talk a Roar, then you can stop them from getting anything, and you're burning a turn of sleep while your opponent is basically doing nothing with their turn. So that's kind of nice. You could also run Hidden Power if you want some coverage here. Hidden Power Grass is still great for hitting Swampert. You're still going to 2-hit KO pretty much every Swampert set. And that pairs decently well with Sleep Talk if you would like to use that. But in general, this is kind of the set that you would like to run with Rest. Let's read up on it a little bit. And this is actually for some variations on this. I talked about some moveset variations, but let's talk about some EV variations. So the EVs are selected for maximum special bulk, but one can also run 32 speed EVs to outspeed all Tyranitar variants. That's important to note, especially if you're going to run a move that helps you hit Tyranitar harder. Thunderbolt does a pretty good amount, but with no special attack investment, you don't do so much to it. 32 defense EVs can be used to always survive Dragon Dance Salamence's boosted Rock Slide. That would also include Choice Band Salamence's boosted Rock Slide. It is inadvisable, however, to take too much away from Zapdos' special bulk, because Zapdos frequently sits just below the threshold of getting 3-hit KO'd by strong, super effective special attacks. And I believe that they're kind of referring to Gengar's Ice Punch as a prominent example. Although there are some Pokemon like Blissey Ice Beam, which could be a consideration as well. I think that this set is decently customizable. Personally, what I like to do with pretty much all of my Rest Zapdoses is get above, get to 240 or 241. 240 will help you outspeed all modest Magneton variants, and it can be really nice to get your T-Bolt off on Magneton before it T-Bolts you, and be able to get your rest off before Magneton can KO you. I think that that's definitely worth considering. And then 241 will help you outspeed all Swampert variants. Not very many of them run max speed, but Endeavor Swampert, which is like Substitute with a Select Berry, Endeavor, usually Hydro Pump as its last move, but sometimes Surf, sometimes Ice Beam. That's a particular mon that can be a little bit nasty. And if you have, say, Sleep Talk with Roar or HP Grass, then it can be really nice to be faster than Swampert there. Although, I guess you don't necessarily need Sleep Talk. You could just HP Grass it straight up. But yeah, that's Rest Zapdos. This is another great set. We're going to continue on. This is Mixed Zapdos. So Mixed Zapdos kind of has a little bit of a different idea in mind. So you have Thunderbolt, of course, that you're pretty much going to run that all the time. We're max special attack with this. Mild is a special attack boosting nature. I believe it lowers defense. I think that's what was suggested for Electabuzz, although I kind of just preferred Modest there. But we're definitely going to need more attack investment than Electabuzz. So 120 is what is opted for. I think this is mostly to help with rolls against Celebi, but also in part Blissey. Yeah, so Thunderbolt Drill Peck is the primary two moves. Drill Peck is the reason that this set even really exists. We're running enough speed to outspeed Adamant Heracross, and Drill Peck being ×4 super effective on it is a big deal. You can actually use Drill Peck to threaten to OHKO Heracross, which is really nice. As for the hidden power, there's actually a slightly different hidden power than we're used to. Hidden power Fighting, which is used to hit primarily Tyranitar, but it can hit Blissey as well. Could be important, but I think Hidden Power Fighting is mostly going to be used to hit Tyranitar. And then the last move slot, you have Agility, Toxic, or Thunder Wave. I think all of them have their use cases. Agility is really nice to get you past, say, Aerodactyl in the end game, and then Thunderbolt is threatening to kill that. But Toxic and Thunder Wave, of course, I mean, we've talked about the utility of those as well. I think that Thunder Wave is probably a little bit better on this particular set than Toxic, because you want to just be clicking massive damage moves, not necessarily relying on Toxic chip too much. But Toxic can be nice to help soften something up so that you can take it out later. And it can be really nice into something like, let's say, Milotic, so you can force it to click Refresh as you're going to T-Bolt into it. Although, maybe you just want to T-Bolt in general. Let's read a little bit on this. This is an alternative idea with this type of moveset, but you could do an EV spread of 252 attack, 12 special attack, 24 speed with a lonely nature to exert maximum pressure on Celebi and Blissey. And Hidden Power Fighting on this set allows Zapdos to 2-hit KO Blissey under sand with 3 layers of spikes on the field. Yeah, I mean, that's asking a lot, but that's kind of nice. Sometimes Blissey teams can fall into the trap of giving Skarmory too much value, that it can just set up all the layers, and then Blissey can't really do much. One example of this is Superman. Superman has no spinner and is sometimes willing to just let Skarmory spike up, but Superman a lot of times also has Blissey. And if Blissey is the primary special wall, then eliminating Blissey and getting the spikes up can be really valuable as well. So there's an argument that you could run this Zapdos on your sort of TSS team to help you out in the matchups against Blissey, particularly against Superman teams. And then you can use something like a Swampert or whatever, something, or like Suicune or whatever has like good ice coverage to handle all of the flying type Pokemon. Hidden Power Fighting also prevents Dragon Dance Tyranitar from getting 2 boosts on Zapdos and annihilating the entire team, which, yeah, I mean, that definitely checks out. You do not want to let Tyranitar get to +2. Generally, if Tyranitar gets to +2, the game's over, unless you have a really bulky Swampert, but I digress. Yeah, that's really good to know all of that. And I'm sure that with Spike's damage and this significant amount of attack investment, HP Fighting is threatening to OHKO Tyranitar. Yeah, let's move on to the next one here. And then this is Agility Pass Zapdos. So those of you who are cheesers, pay attention to this one. I'm joking, by the way. Again, I've already talked about this set a little bit, and I think that it is a little bit more honest than the Ninjask variant. Shedinja caught a stray right there. But yeah, T-Bolt, Hidden Power, Agility, Baton Pass. It's pretty simple. You have a modest nature to maximize your special attack. We have Spadef investment, which is going to help us to live an additional special attack from a lot of areas. I think in particular against opposing Zapdos Thunderbolt, with this you can sometimes live 2 Thunderbolts depending on the Zapdos spread. And then 136 speed, you should know by now, but this is to outspeed Heracross. I want to note this in the Smogon write-up here. Calm Mind plus Baton Pass Celebi is an amazing partner for Zapdos. Not only does Celebi set up its own boost and maintain the Baton Pass chain, it has the right tools to stop Zapdos' checks from ruining the chain. Okay, this is a little bit outdated. The note that I have here is that Baton Pass Celebi works really well with Baton Pass Zapdos, and that is great to maintain each other's boosts. But due to some rule changes that have happened in the last couple years, you cannot have Agility Baton Pass Zapdos and CM Baton Pass Celebi on the same team. And BKC has a great video about this called The Assassination of Baton Pass by the Coward ADV Player Base. Granted, this was before I was playing ADV, so I kind of have plausible deniability here. But yeah, you're not allowed to have multiple boosts plus BP on the same team. Now you can have CMBP Celebi and Agility Zapdos. You can have Agility BP Zapdos and BP Celebi. You just can't have both of them having a boosting move and BP on the same team. So no, but there is a lot of value in like CMBP Celebi and a BP Zapdos. You can BP to Zapdos, have Zapdos do what it needs to do, and then when it Baton passes out, it can maintain that Calm Mind boost, give it to something else. That's really cool. And then the same idea can happen with Agility. If a Zapdos sets up Agility, passes to Celebi, then Celebi does what it needs to do, then passes that boost to something else. That can be really cool as well. And Celebi's not the only Pokemon that can maintain this Baton Pass structure, but it is the one that is the most resilient to the things that want to hit Zapdos. Yes, I know that they share an ice weakness, but Celebi does not really take that much from a lot of ice beams, frankly. Yeah, and that's, I believe, the last standard set for Zapdos, so now it's time to reveal what crazy dumb set I came up with. Because, of course, it's not a Tetrafolium video if you don't have some weird set, unless you watch my Charizard video or my Metacham video. But let's see what I came up with. Alright, so here we are. This set, it shares some similarities with the Baton Pass Zapdos in terms of its EV spread. We actually have a little bit less special attack, a little bit more speed, and a little bit more Spadef. I will talk about that a little bit later, but the moves that makes this set tick is Metal Sound. And I have to give credit to my friend who doesn't even play ADV at all, Ephemeral Style, who, if you watch my Draft League videos, I mean, probably not. Nobody watches my Draft League videos. You'll know that Ephemeral Style loves Zapdos on Gen 9 Draft, and it is a great Pokemon. It solves a lot of problems for a draft team. But one of the moves that my good buddy loves to use on Zapdos is a move called Eerie Impulse. So Eerie Impulse, if I can pull it up here, it lowers the enemy's special attack by 2, and that's really good at making Zapdos like particularly bulky. And I said, what if you had that, but like for special defense, so that Zapdos could just be a crazy wall breaker? And in fact, you can do that because Metal Sound, it does exactly that. It lowers the opponent's special defense stat 2 stages. So that will help you to force special walls to switch or take a hell of a lot of damage from Zapdos's modest boosted attacks. Now, yeah, we don't have the full effects of modest in because we're not fully invested in special attack, but we're still stronger than any timid Zapdos. So keep that in mind. We have Thunderbolt here. Particularly, we are going to OHKO Starmie, Gyarados, Moltres, Charizard. We have a role to OHKO Standard Skarmory. It's only a 12.5%, but that is pretty good, and a lot of Skarmories are dropping a little bit of Spadef in favor of speed, so that they can like speed creep the other Skarmory and get a taunt off. And every bit of special defense that they don't have is a little bit higher chance for Zapdos to get the OHKO. So that's really nice for us. We're gonna 2-hit KO offensive Zapdos. Any Metagross that doesn't have leftovers. Most of the Ment sets, Milotic and Suicune. Yeah, these are some Pokemon that are kind of difficult to hit, especially with one move slot, and Zapdos can handle all of them, so that is really nice. Hidden Power Ice is to OHKO Salamence and Flygon, but Metal Sound will debuff Celebi and Claydol, and we can do a lot of damage to them. It kind of depends on their investment, whether we're going to get an OHKO or just do like close to an OHKO. In Celebi's case, if you had Spikes damage, you might get an OHKO on it after that. Claydol, unfortunately, we can't get Spikes damage on it, but if it's not like the utility Claydol set, which frankly pretty much every Claydol is, we might be able to get a one-hit KO on it. But no, generally Claydol is going to run max HP, so it's kind of a moot point, but we'll 2-hit KO for sure. And then with Substitute, Claydol is not super duper safe going for Explosion into the Zapdos. If you sub, you'll lose 25% of your HP, but if they boom, they lose their whole Claydol for that. So I think that's generally a worthwhile trade. The defensive investment here is so that we'll usually live 2 Timid Zapdos T-Bolts and Modest Blissey Ice Beams, particularly if there's no sand. Now, it's important to note that since offensive Zapdos is probably going to outspeed us, we want to take less than 50 so we can get our second hit off before sand takes us out. Now, you can run enough Spadef to guarantee that you will not take 50% from a timid Zapdos Thunderbolt, but I opted to steal a little bit. I did originally have that. I stole a little bit and put it into speed because I want to outspeed Smeargle, because I've been running into some Smeargle teams on the ladder and they've been so annoying, and I just want to be faster than the Smeargle and threaten to OHKO it with T-Bolt, which you can do. You won't always get an OHKO on Smeargle if it's running Spadef, but any of the Smeargles that are only running HP or not running any HP at all, we will OHKO those. So that's good to know. Yeah, so if you don't find much value in outspeeding Smeargle, you can go back down to 270, which is enough to outspeed Adamant Hera, and you can put basically the rest of it into special defense. I don't think you need literally all of it in special defense. I think you can like give yourself 4 extra special attack. I don't think it really significantly changes any roles for you, but could be nice to have that. Or if you like find that, oh, a little bit of defense helps you or a little bit of HP helps you, then that's totally fine as well. But this is kind of a mix between Spadef Zapdos and like a wall breaking Zapdos, and with Metal Sound, you do have some wall breaking potential. That's really nice. Most Pokemon are not going to be able to live 2 attacks from Zapdos after taking a Metal Sound, so that's really good. Blissey's like the one exception, but we can even get a little bit greedier with that, with the particular team that I came up with. So here's the team structure, and I think some of you will notice right off the bat that I have a Suicune on this team. And the poll was, do you want a video on Zapdos or Suicune? And this may look like the illusion of choice here. It's like, oh, I had a team queued up that had Suicune or Zapdos, and I could have just made the slideshow presentation on whichever, and then continue with that. And as smart as that would have been, actually, I started building this team after the poll results were basically concluded, and I just happened to find that Suicune would be a good fit for this team. So no, I was not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. I did legitimately make a Zapdos team. I just found that Suicune would have been the nicest thing there. I guess I could have run like a Hypnosis Milo as the lead, but that's so cheesy and I hate that, so I'm not doing that. But this is I call this Zapdos Metso Zap. That's thanks to the person who helped me build this team. All I do is win, or Benji if you are familiar with Zet's streams. Thanks to you, Benji, for helping me do this. The Metal Sound Zapdos was my idea, but and I built a lot of this team, but Benji gave me some pointers, gave me some ideas to make the team a little bit more resilient against certain threats, which is really nice. But the concept of this team is we have a CMBP Celebi who can pass boost to any of these Pokemon because all 6 of them are special attackers, and that can facilitate some progress into the mid game. Yeah, and you might say like, well, Metagross isn't particularly a special attacker, but in fact we're running mixed meta on this team. Suicune can generate some early momentum against Tyranitar, and it can scare out Salamence. Salamence generally does not want to stay in against a lead Suicune because Salamence will not KO Suicune, and if Suicune has Ice Beam, then bye-bye Salamence. We don't happen to have Ice Beam on our Suicune, but our opponents don't have to know that. And any team that just has a lead Suicune and that's all the information you know, you cannot gamble. Come on. Even if you're like, the Metso Zap CM Pass team is running around on ladder, it's like you can't gamble that, and you can certainly go for Ice Beam on your Suicune if you're going to run this team. I don't hate that idea. Our Metal Sound Zapdos will force Celebi and Blissey to switch after we debuff them, and this allows Zapdos to get Chip on the incoming Mon, or you can switch to something that's even more devastating. Like if, for example, if their switch in is going to be, say, Swampert, you can switch to Celebi, and that's going to completely devastate the Swampert because we have Giga Drain on Celebi. So they are going to have to switch. That gives us a CM opportunity. We can BP to anything else after the switch, and then potentially snowball our advantage from there. Mixed meta is the primary Blissey check, but Regice also has Explosion for a pinch. The particular Regice set that I'm running is in fact the Regice that I featured in my Regice video, so please go check that out if you want to know more about it. But note that Regice's Explosion is not going to be doing super significant damage to Blissey. We also don't have Sand, and we don't have Spikes on this team. So Explosion alone is not going to cut it for killing the Blissey. You will have to use Metagross smartly to KO the Blissey. Now, yeah, if Metagross does what it needs to do and KOs the Blissey, then you can do whatever you want with this team. This team can run wild. But I will say that we have a little bit of resilience against Blissey thanks to Calm Mind Suicune. Calm Mind Suicune in the end game can 1v1 most Blissey sets. The one that you're struggling most into is opposing Calm Mind Blissey. But I would say if you're going to lose to one Blissey set, I guess let it be Calm Mind Blissey. Because if you lose to Utility Blissey, you will lose to every Blissey. So that's good to know. And the combination of Celebi, Rest Talk Swampert, which is a kind of novel set. Thanks for Benji for suggesting that. And Regice, we have a robust, specially defensive core. So even without Blissey, we still are pretty solid into special attackers. And then Metagross and Swampert being the dual rock resists means that we're not necessarily going to lose straight up to a rock spam team. So that's really nice. Yeah, and that's basically going to conclude our PowerPoint presentation section of the video. And good timing too, only an hour and 10 minutes. Those of you who are asking me to do videos on things like Gengar, just know that Gengar's got even more set variety than Zapdos, so and has arguably an even bigger effect on the metagame. So like this is what we're looking at here. And I know that you guys are sickos and you just love to hear me talk, which is great because I love to hear myself talk. So yeah, that video will be coming at some point. Maybe I'll set it as like a certain subscriber benchmark. 1,000 subscribers and you get your Gengar video. Maybe we'll do it sooner than that. I'm not sure. But that is yeah, that's it. We're gonna go on to the battles now. Let me set the scene here. And yeah, so I've got the portrait of the Pokemon in the top right corner. I think this was suggested to me. I'm certainly open to doing some more stuff with this, but right now I don't have too many great ideas about what to do. So uh, if you know another YouTuber and you would like me to copy their sort of style of layout, then I'm super down to do that. So uh, give me some suggestions in the comment section. But here we're gonna play some nice music here. It's a little bit quiet at the start, but this is whoops. There we go. This is Greevil's theme from Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. If you have not played Gale of Darkness, you don't know what that team consists of. Just know that it's thematic. I'm not going to spoil it because it is a really, really interesting team. Really cool final battle, and we're going to switch to the protagonist's perspective, of course, and see what Metal Sound Zapdos can do against the opposition here. So, I'm actually going to turn that music down slightly. We have a Smeargle lead. Oh my god. Smeargle, you bastard. Because I have lead Suicune and I'm not faster than Smeargle, I am going to have to switch if I don't want to sleep sack my Suicune, and I don't. So I'm going to switch to Swampert, who has Sleep Talk anyway, so it's not the worst thing to be asleep. But then I'm going to switch to Zapdos. And I believe that this is before I made the change to be a little bit faster than Smeargle. This is a game that kind of pushed me in that direction, but the Smeargle's going to switch out anyway, I guess fearing that the Zapdos is faster anyway. So I'm going to go for T-Bolt, which would threaten to kill Smeargle most of the time. And Celebi comes in, takes absolutely nothing, like that 12%, that's not, or sorry, 21%, that's nothing. But this is what Metal Sound is for. I can Metal Sound the Celebi, who misses its Leech Seed, very fortunate for me. And now I can go for Hidden Power Ice, and I do 84%. That's nuts. That's insane damage. But now I could KO that with Thunderbolt. So I'm going to Thunderbolt into the Ether, see whatever comes in. And it's a Snorlax. I do a decent amount of chip and get the Para, which is really nice. Metagross is a great switch for Snorlax. It crits and gets 30% off, which is basically nothing. I can go for Meteor Mash into Swampert coming in. I don't have HP Grass. I did think about running Thunder Punch HP Grass mix meta, but so little bit not so great into some Pokemon. In particular, Gengar could be a problem. I think Gengar can be a little bit tough for this team, but mixed meta can lure Gengar in. Gengar oftentimes likes to go for the burn on Metagross, and if you get burned for the price of going for Psychic, I think you'll take that. Now I can go to Celebi, who is threatening the Swampert out. I'm going to Calm Mind in the face of Swampert, assuming that the Swampert is going to be too scared to stay in. In fact, it goes for Ice Beam, which is maybe even just better for me. Then my opponent reveals Houndoom on the turn that I Baton Pass, that's not great. They go for Will-O-Wisp, deciding to sack the entire Houndoom against Suicune. I guess they were assuming that I was like a offensive Suicune, because that is generally what lead Suicune is, but I am more defensive. I have a little bit of speed to get past Adamant Tyranitar, but other than that, this is basically defensive Suicune. I can switch out against Celebi, who is probably going to go for Leech Seed. Actually goes for Recover, but that's fine, because I can just Calm Mind up. And now I get a pass to whatever I want. And I think I'm going to go to Metagross here. So Metagross comes in, takes basically nothing from return. And I can just kind of go for whatever I want. I'll go for a Meteor Mash. I catch the Swampert coming in. And I'm just going to boom. So I didn't even get to show off any of my special attacks there. But don't you worry, we'll see them in some future videos. I reveal my Lastmon Regice here into Snorlax. I go for an Ice Beam and do basically no damage, and then I'm gonna boom. I probably should have just boomed to begin with, so that Snorlax couldn't get its curse off. Return is always curse lax. You're not running return on like a 4-attack Snorlax. No way. Body Slam gives you much more utility. In any case, I can go to Zapdos here and get the Metal Sound off to debuff the special defense. We managed to live a return, and I can go for Thunderbolt. So Thunderbolt catches Magneton for 51%, and I should kill that with the second Thunderbolt. This is an argument for why I really like Modest Zapdos. If you're timid, you're not usually going to get the 2-hit KO on Magneton, but if you're modest, you usually are going to get the 2-hit KO on Magneton. And it's really nice to catch Magneton switching in. It thinks that it's safe against Bolt Beam or Bolt Grass coverage. And when you reveal that you're doing that much damage, that completely wastes the Magneton. They either have to sack it or they have to switch to something else to take damage. In this case, my opponent opts to go to Celebi. Very sensible decision. But I can go for a substitute here, because I know this Celebi has, like, this has got to be a utility Celebi. Maybe its only move is HP Grass, and it seems to be the case. It has Heal Bell, so I can just sit behind the sub all day here. I'll go for a Metal Sound. This is going to force the Celebi to switch, which allows me to go for Hidden Power. I probably could have went for T-Bolt there, actually. But this is fine. I can go for a Metal Sound behind my substitute here. Now the Snorlax is -2 Spadef, and I can go for T-Bolt. I catch Celebi switching in, but that's fine. We know we can sub on this pretty freely. So I am going to go for a substitute. My opponent calls that and goes to Snorlax, but they're still going to have to break my substitute while I can go for a Thunderbolt, and I get a critical hit, which is really nice. I opt to just sack the Zapdos here to get the damage on Snorlax. Snorlax is really the only thing on this team that can win the game from this position. My Celebi should just Calm Mind to +infinity against the opposing Celebi. I go for Psychic, and I don't get the kill on Snorlax, which is like, whoa. Maybe I should have calced that. But since the Snorlax is resting, I can kind of just go for Calm Minds. Celebi can come in and Heal Bell, but I can get to +3. Magneton comes in, but I'm faster than Magneton, and I have HP Fire, so I'm just going to kill this off. I'll take the free turn to heal back up. And even with no Recover, no Leech Seed, I was able to get so much health back, and I'm 3-hit KOing Snorlax. Snorlax is not even quite 3-hit KOing me, so I'm going to be able to get away with a lot of damage there. My opponent switches to Celebi, but that doesn't really get him anything, as I can continue to call Mind up while Celebi is in. If I get to +4, then like it's over. And yes, my opponent does reveal last move Hidden Power Grass. Psychic would have been kind of nice to like even try to break the Zapdos substitute, but HP Grass is just completely chalked. My opponent will go for Recover as I do 98% with HP Fire. I guess they were hoping that I didn't have HP Fire coverage, but I do. So yeah, it's kind of over. Even if I didn't, I would go for Psychics, and I would eventually get the drop on Celebi, and you'd have to switch. You're sacking something. It's over. Like, this game is completely over. Suicune didn't do too much for me this game, and Swampert did literally nothing. It just went to sleep. But yeah, no, this is the sort of power of Zapdos plus Celebi here as a kind of especially defensive core. Really nice. As you can see, I don't have Giga Drain on this Celebi for this particular battle. I did decide that I want the grass coverage on something because I I didn't have any grass coverage on this team, and Swamperts, if they got too cute or they realized that I had no grass coverage, Swampert was a little bit of an issue for me, and I decided I don't think I really need Psychic that badly on this Celebi. Like, Gengar is like, I'm either going to call Mind up and Baton Pass out to something that can deal with Gengar, or I'm just gonna like lose to Gengar anyway. So, because it's gonna blow up on me. So, um, that's sort of the reason why. But if you want to go back and have Psy-Fire Celebi, that's perfectly reasonable. Let's play this one out, and I have Suicune versus Lead Jirachi. So, Lead Jirachi, that's big red flags, okay? There are two Jirachi sets that lead. One of them is Choice Band with Doom Desire. The other one is Hacks Rachi, at least that's what I call it, which is, it's going to have, usually it's going to have things like Body Slam, maybe Thunder, Hidden Power, potentially Fighting or Grass. It could have Dynamic Punch. It has Ice Punch. It's usually just trying to get an early paralysis on something and make your life a living hell later into the game. So identifying that, I'm going to go to Celebi. I assume that either this is one of those two sets, and if it is Choice Band, it's not clicking Shadow Ball into a lead Suicune. No shot. It would go for Body Slam, if anything. So my opponent does reveal Thunder, so this is a Hacks Rachi. I'm going to Calm Mind up. Hopefully I dodge another paralysis, and I do. So I will get up to +2 now, as the Jirachi goes for another Body Slam and doesn't get the para on me. Because I'm not paralyzed, I'm actually going to take my damage here. I do get paralyzed finally. This Rachi doesn't even have leftovers, which is kind of crazy. But now I can go to Zapdos. I will Thunderbolt into a Marowak, but that's fine because I have HP Ice, which will do a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage to this Magneton, and I should outspeed and get the kill with Thunderbolt. But my opponent has a Quick Claw Magneton. Note, there's no Scarf. There's no way that Magneton can outspeed my Zapdos because I have 274 speed. The only way that this Magneton gets its Thunder Wave off early is if it's Quick Claw. So he has Quick Claw Magneton and got the 20% proc to Thunder Wave my Zapdos, which is really, really, really annoying, as you're going to see that this is a Ninjask team. Oh my lord. I think I'm going to say something kind of crazy in the comment section here. I say, you should be put underneath the jail for Quick Claw Magneton plus Ninjask. And yes, sorry if the Discord pings are happening. That's my Discord, not yours. All right, buddy, you're getting muted. This is egregious. If you find Axorn on the ladder and you see this, I hope I've exposed this team and you know exactly how to play around it. Because no, this is egregious. Goes for sand attack as well with the Ninjask. That is, yeah, no. This person deserves the death penalty. I'm just gonna say it right now. um, okay, that's a little harsh. I shouldn't be saying all that, but I can go to Suicune, who is Roar. I'm gonna go for Surf to break the substitute first, or potentially catch whatever's coming in. Trying to bait my opponent to not go like basically to get complacent as I go for Roar here and ruin all their progress. They have Cradily now, who has Confuse Ray, and yes, this person is literally cheesing. Um, and I get confused with my Regice. I probably should switch out here, but I'm like, oh, I could get damage on Jirachi, and that was very foolish of me to think I would be able to do that. Although I didn't have a great switch, because Regice, I mean, Celebi is pretty low at this stage. And I'm going to get down to 14%, and I didn't even get anything off on the Jirachi, which is really, really lame. I am going to opt to switch the Regice out. I could save this. It could be useful, potentially against Ninjask. And that's something that maybe I should have identified sooner, which is why I shouldn't have stayed in so long with the Regice. Regice has Clear Body, so it is immune to the drop from Sand Attack. So I could come in with Regice on Ninjask, and it will never be able to block my my Ice Beam. And then against Marowak, I should live one hit, and it should kill it back with Ice Beam. So that's a potential line for me, but not so much anymore because I'm at 20% HP and I'm paralyzed. But now I'll go to Zapdos, who should take an HP fighting well enough. And if I ever get my move off, I could kill this Jirachi. But no, I don't get my move off ever because Jirachi is such an unfun Pokemon and I hate it so much. Okay, that's a lie. I love Jirachi. I don't love this set. This is evil. But no, I could have got anything off. I go to Metagross on a Fire Punch from Gengar, and I'm surprised I didn't get burned there. But yeah. Fire Punch Gengar a lot of times is running HP Grass to help hit Swampert, so I'm not going to stay in here. I'm actually going to go to Suicune, but because Jirachi comes in, I'm going to switch back out. I get Body Slammed, but I don't get parried. It's kind of nice. And I don't get parried there either, and I get the Crit Surf, so Justice. Axorn, if you're watching this, you deserve that. Alright, in any case, I'm going to Ice Beam into the Ninjask. Ice Beam is the best move to hit Cradily, if that comes in. And my opponent's actually going to swap immediately to it, and I crit it. Nice! But I can go to Metagross here, who gets confused. I think I'm actually just going to switch out immediately, because I don't want to take an Earthquake, and also I'll just accept the chip that I get there. I'm going to go for Giga Drain, and I'm actually faster than Cradily, because that thing is slow as balls. So that's pretty nice. My opponent will go for Sand Attack immediately, you cheeser. What if I went for freaking HP Fire? Probably should have, actually. In any case, I'll go to Suicune now. You can go for Sand Attack if you're this Ninjask, but 75% of the time I will still get my Roar off, which is quite nice. But yeah, no, this is the evil of Ninjask, and this is why this Pokemon should be banned. I missed my Roar. So now my opponent can, well, they can go for another Sand Attack if they would so choose. I'll go down to 60% accuracy, but I still could hit, and I do. Now Gengar comes in, and I'm kind of struggling to find a switch in, especially if I don't know what move it's going to click. So I'm going to stay in and click Surf. 60% of the time I'll get the chip off, and I do, so that's quite nice. Now I'm going to go to Swampert, predicting my opponent to want to click a stronger move into Suicune, and I'm starting to think that they don't have HP Grass, because they would have probably clicked it by now. But they do lay a curse on my Swampert, which is going to force it to switch. I'll go to Metagross, who has Clear Body, and you cannot Sand Attack that. And then I can just spam Psychic here, because that should do enough damage to Marowak. And my opponent is going to have to switch to Marowak eventually here. If they let my Metagross get too much HP back, then they might not get the kill with Earthquake. So they're gonna have to be satisfied with the 2.5, which is perfectly fine. That's gonna outspeed everything on my team anyway. I don't have anything that's super fast. I'm gonna stay in and sack the Metagross. I cannot allow Marowak to get a Swords Dance. If it gets a Swords Dance off, then I'm in big trouble. So it's way more worth sacking the Metagross than it is to allow the Marowak to potentially get the Swords Dance off. Now I can go to Suicune, who should live any hit from Marowak. Even a crit Earthquake I would have lived. And then Surf is going to kill. And now Ninjask cannot win the game by itself. I say GG Cheesy, because this team pisses me off. This should not be allowed. Ban Confuse Ray. Ban Sand Attack. And if you're not going to do that, ban Ninjask. Like, come on, let's get rid of the cheese, all right? Now, yeah, I mean, the Jirachi set is still pretty cheesy, and yes, you could still have a Paraspam type idea with Marowak here, but I think that Paraspam is a little bit nicer to play around than this cheesy Sand Attack Ninjask BS. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I feel pretty strongly about this. So I hope you had some catharsis that I beat this. And this strategy here, you see that? You see the elo? Almost 1500? You do not need any skill to play this team. I'm just going to say that right now. This is a skillless team. And you getting up to 1500 like that with a skillless team like this, that's egregious. All right. I got a little heated there. I'm not gonna lie. Let's go on. Let's get. I think this one might be some Suicune gaming here. I think that's what I labeled this one as. So for the fans, the ones of you who voted for Suicune, I'm going to give you a little bit of what you want here. Regice is a great switch into lead Zapdos, but not so much into Metagross. But Swampert is kind of fine into Metagross, and I can go for Surf, and I get a lot of damage off on Gengar. My opponent gets a really nice double to Charizard as I go to Metagross, but Suicune should be able to blank that. They say Soul Read there. I mean, okay. I say you got so much out of it as a sarcastic comment because, like, they didn't really get that much out of it. Now they get a crit with HP Fire onto my Celebi, which is really nasty. And then my opponent has the gall to say, history is written by the victor. All right, Bear Hug. You're going to get me heated again. This is about to be a Jimothy Cool video in a moment. I go to Regice here because Regice should take an HP Fire pretty well, but it actually is resisted. So that's actually HP Ice Celebi. Which should not be able to hit me. I can go for Ice Beam. It should be good damage to everything other than Metagross, and I didn't think that my opponent would pass a boost to Metagross necessarily, even though that is a nice strategy. I go for Boom to kill the Charizard. I didn't necessarily have to do that. I could have went for Thunderbolt and got a lot of damage, but I did not want to put Charizard into Blaze range, and I was more than willing to just sack the Regice there. And if they go to Gengar, I mean, okay, that would have been a crazy play, but and a really nice play, honestly. But they did not do that. I'm going to trade Thunderbolts with this Zapdos. This is the idea behind my Zapdos set, in fact, is that I will do over 50% to opposing like offensive Zapdos, and I will take under 50%, so I can win the 1v1. I go for HP Ice because that would kill Zapdos. It would also hit Celebi coming in, but they actually reveal Swampert. So I'm going to have to switch to my own Swampert here as Celebi comes in. This has Hidden Power Ice. It might have Giga Drain. It has like the Abomasnow coverage, I guess. And they pass the boost to Swampert on my Metagross. I'm not really willing to sack my entire Metagross yet, so I'm going to sack Celebi instead. Now Suicune is in, and I'm going to Calm Mind up with it. My opponent stays into Hydro Pump. For what reason? I have no idea. But I'm going to get to +2 now, and I should be fine into Gengar. Boom does like nothing. They say, Jesus, that thing. Okay, this is really funny. Jesus, that thing's bulky. May the books remember me well. Well, Bear Hug, the books may not remember you, but YouTube will. Then they go to Metagross and go for Meteor Mash into Suicune, and like, I don't really know what the idea was there. In fact, nothing on my team gets hit by Meteor Mash at all. I guess they were hoping for the boost, but like, okay. Um, Maybe they didn't want to boom necessarily into like a Swampert or a Metagross switch, and they were hoping that they could just get the raise and not have to do that. I would have just boomed if I was this opponent here, but okay. Now Suicune is at about 68% with +2/+2. I'm really fine. I'm just gonna trade Calm Minds with this Celebi because, as you know, if you've looked at my paste, I'm Roar Suicune. So get out of here, Celebi. Now Zapdos is in. Zapdos is gonna have to crit to kill me. Does not get the crit. I will surf and kill that. And yeah, it's GG. So Bear Hug. The YouTube will remember you well. And this is Suicune Gaming here. This is to show that Suicune does not have to be the last Mon to get a lot of value. As long as you eliminate the key threats, and the key threat to Suicune was Zapdos, then you can win. And I didn't even eliminate the Zapdos before I got my boost because my opponent decided to make some questionable plays and allow my Suicune to get out of hand. I don't know what they thought their Gengar was going to do with that explosion. With that sort of damage, actually, I'm curious. I'm going to calc it. Suicune. Whoops. Suicune, I believe I'm 204 defense investment with a bold nature into Gengar. How does Jim call him? Gangui or something like that. Dealing, what did that deal? 44%. So if this is a timid Gengar, like with a minus, the minus attack nature, then that was a max roll from Explosion. It's possible that this could have had some attack investment, but like, even if you have like, even if you have like 252 and not a minus nature, you do 69% max. You're never gonna kill the Suicune, which I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think going Metagross was really bad by my opponent, actually. Unless you were going to boom again. But booming again, you're 3v3. This Celebi is... it's a little bit dangerous, maybe. But it doesn't have a move to hit Metagross. I don't necessarily have a move to hit Swampert, though. So that could have been bad, actually. Yeah, no, I think if you boomed your Metagross, you would have been fine if you had that. And if you went to Zapdos, that would have at least forced my Suicune out. I would have had to go to Swampert and then like hoped that you were not HP Grass, or maybe make a nice double to Metagross and then go for something crazy after that, like Boom. But I digress. Bear Hug, you will be remembered. Here we are against Metadata. Kind of a cool name. I think that's... So it sounds like metadata, but it's with a Medicham instead. What is their lead? Not a Medicham, but a Zangoose. That is very strange. They go for Double Edge and do a lot of damage into my Suicune, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to take another Double Edge. So I go to Metagross, and that takes a lot of damage as well. Holy. I guess Choice Band Zangoose is a hell of a drug, huh? I'm just going to go for HP Fire and kill off the Zangoose. My opponent will go to Magneton to trap and kill my Metagross, which sucks. They get a critical hit. It doesn't really matter, but I guess I want to check to see if that would have always killed me without the crit. No, I'm not bulky attacker Metagross. I'm mixed. Yeah, that's if it's modest with a magnet, that would have killed me anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Unless it wasn't that. But I can go to Celebi and start Calm Minding. I'm gonna Calm Mind again on the Snorlax. The worst you can do is boom me. Okay, well, never mind. The worst you can do is curse, and I don't have my dedicated Snorlax switch. I'll go to Swampert, who takes a Shadow Ball quite well. And I'll go for Surf, and I get the critical hit. No! But my opponent would have done so much recoil damage to themselves and put me in torrent range. I think I would have killed with the next Surf anyway. Maybe they could have had the opportunity to switch to something. But they go hard Magneton there, which to me screams that they have HP Grass. So I'll go to Celebi, who tanks that pretty well, and I'll go for a Calm Mind on the switch. Salamence is kind of rough, but I'll go for Calm Mind, or sorry, not Calm Mind, Baton Pass. And this is not a max speed Salamence, which is, I mean, most Salamence are not running a plus speed nature. So I thought I was going to be fine to get off there. And they go for Dragon Dance, which is probably the best for my Regice, because I can go to Regice, who should live a Rock Slide as long as I don't get flinched. No, I get flinched. Ice Beam would have went so crazy there. And then Magneton wouldn't even kill me, and I could kill it back with HP Fire because I have that set, which is really cool, but alright. I go to Suicune, roar that out, and I see a Metagross. Ugh, I can't really do much against Metagross, so I'm just going to take some Surf damage. They actually go for Earthquake, which doesn't quite kill me. That crit probably didn't matter. There was maybe a role for them to not kill, but I think it was pretty favored for them to get the kill. I'll go to Zapdos, and I'm hoping, praying that they don't have a move to hit me. So I'll go for Substitute, and they go for Boom, which is probably the best outcome for me. They go to Magneton, which is a free switch to Celebi for me, but they crit my Celebi. Hey, get the barrel. What the hell, man? I'm getting hacked. I go for Baton Pass there because I'm like, oh man, this is like so over for me if the luck has its way with me. I will go for HP Fire to get damage on the Magneton. It's like I cannot risk getting going for CM and getting crit or parried again. So I need to put the Magneton in range so that Zapdos can kill it afterwards. Salamence will now come in as I go for a Calm Mind. That was kind of greedy of me. But I can Baton Pass now to Swampert, who might live and HP flying from this range, but I don't. I think that even if it was a roll, it was very, very favored for Salamence to get the kill there. So Zapdos is going to have to come in and eat a slice of humble pie. I'm going to die to Rock Slide, and it's GG. But my opponent misses Rock Slide. It's justice. And I get my HP Ice off, and Zapdos is going to clean up the game because I have a lot of special attack investment. I can kill the Magneton. And last mon is Suicune, who, yeah, this time, last mon Suicune is not going to matter that significantly for us. Let's restart the music here. And yes, we get the kill. That is fantastic. 3 cheers for Zapdos for being able to win with some hacks. Now, that being said, if I didn't get flinched on my Regice, we would not have been in that situation. We would have won this game quite easily, in fact, had that happen. No, I don't necessarily feel bad about haxing back and getting the win there. But cool team with Zangoose lead. I've never seen Zangoose used in OU before this game, so quite cool. I don't know if it has a super duper valuable niche. Like, yeah, that double edge is really strong, but like, I don't know, you could just lead like Snorlax basically and do the same thing. Yeah, you're a little slower with, I mean, you're a lot slower with Snorlax, but like, I don't know. Snorlax has some bulk, at least. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some sauce there, some secret sauce. The team looks really weak to Gengar, by the way. Like a Fire Punch Gengar would destroy this team. In any case, we're going to move on to the last match of the video here, because great, we're about to hit 2 hours, but you know what? It's worth it. 2 hours for 300 subs. That's great for me. And Spodiak, is that how you say that? I suppose that's how I would say it. So that's how I did say it. So lead Suicune into a Fortress. Bruh. what is lead Fortress, man? Come on. No, but in all seriousness, Fortress is actually a pretty decent lead into my team. Suicune is not the best into spikers, and maybe I should lead something that would help me out there. Maybe Zapdos, but I want to preserve the metal sound Zapdos, like. So that's why I'm not leading it. Instead, I'm leading Suicune. And then it kind of bluffs that I'm offensive Suicune as well. So I can come back in later in the game and reveal that I'm actually the defensive Suicune who's looking to end game, which could be nice. I'll go to Metagross, and maybe this is telegraphed too much. Okay, I say this in the chat. I guess Spike makes more sense than Boom. This is psychological warfare. I was hoping that my opponent would think, "Oh, you went to Metagross because you thought I was gonna Boom. Well, I'm just gonna Spike up as you can't hit me." But no, that didn't work. The psychological warfare is a failure, and now I look like a fool for even trying it. But I go for Hidden Power Fire. I catch Swampert for basically no damage. I'm gonna have to switch to Regice here. Regice gets hit with an Earthquake. Not nice. I'm gonna go for Ice Beam to chip the Swampert, and I get a pretty sizable amount of damage into Fortress, probably more than I was expecting. But then I'll go for HP Fire and I'll kill the Fortress. And you know what, Spodiak? You've been exposed as somebody who's not watching Tetrafolium videos like you're supposed to. If you had watched the Tetrafolium videos, you would know that I like to run HP Fire on my Regice specifically to kill the Fortress. So there we go. Those of you who have been riding or dying with me ever since the Regice video, you guys are real ones. You guys know the power of this particular Regice set. I'm going to take a Flamethrower for not very much damage at all and just Ice Beam into the Blissey. I think I actually went for a Boom there and I kind of got bailed out. Although it would have been nice to get the Boom damage on Swampert, I guess. But in any case, I can go to Celebi and start CMing up on the Swampert. I'll CM again. Yeah, you have Flamethrower on Blissey, but I'm not going to take that much from that. And my opponent opts to go for the Paralysis, which is fine. I can go to Zapdos. I'll get a T-Bolt. I get a critical hit, which is really, really good for my Zapdos. I'll go for Substitute. Reason being is if this Blissey has Flamethrower and it doesn't have Seismic Toss or Ice Beam, which it could have Ice Beam, I might be able to get away with getting the sub up and keeping it up as they go for Soft Boiled, and I can go for Metal Sound and +2 Zapdos and -2 Blissey. Zapdos is going to be doing about 75%, which is super duper significant damage, and Blissey is not going to be able to just Soft Boiled spam to beat that. So I'm fine with this. My opponent actually goes for T-Wave, which is, I think, an incredibly bold play, because I've shown doing 77% to you. I could kill you straight up with T-Bolt if I get the right roll. But no, my opponent will decide to just sacrifice the Blissey here, and that's great because now there's a lot less pressure on my Metagross to do anything here. My opponent survives my +2 T-Bolt and thuds into my Substitute, which tells me that they're probably a Rest Zapdos. Heracross is going to come in, reveal itself to be Jolly, and not even able to live a T-Bolt there. My opponent goes for Ancient Power on Aerodactyl and gets the Omni Boost, but I have Swampert, and yeah, you don't do anything to that. So, Spodiak, nice try, buddy, but I've got the tech for you, which is literally one of the most common Pokemon in the game. I go for Metal Sound on Swampert, trying to debuff its special defense so I can threaten to beat it with anything on my team, probably Regice. I managed to miss the first one and then get the second one, and then they freeze me. I don't manage to thaw immediately, and I'm going to save the Zapdos. No, I think there's no sense in dying to Aerodactyl there. And if my Zapdos is frozen, well, at least then my opponent can't freeze something else on my team. I would take a Double Edge, and I live that, and I live the second Double Edge. I'll go for Surf. Torrent boosted should certainly kill the Aerodactyl. And then Swampert can come in. I am faster than the standard defensive Swampert, which has a minus speed nature. So I will go for Rest, and I will Sleep Talk, and I roll Surf there, which is pretty nice. I'll Sleep Talk again. I get an Ice Beam, a critical hit, really nice. I'll get Earthquaked. At this stage, I can wake up, and I will go for Rest again. And this is the power of Rest Talk Swampert here. I go for Sleep Talk here. I get an Ice Beam for not very much damage. I'm going to Sleep Talk again and get Rest, so I get no damage. Earthquake is doing a pretty decent amount to me. If it ever crits, I could be in trouble. But I also have 5 other Pokemon in the back, so I don't know how much trouble I can really be in. Celebi has Giga Drain, for God's sake. I don't know why I don't opt to just go for Celebi here, but let's put this on fast mode. I think at this stage I'm like, well, I could just go for the PP stall on Swampert and win that way. Because I guess the idea is I don't want to go to something and get crit, particularly like Celebi, and get crit, and then lose this 6-0 here. That would be lame. What elo are you at? Is it that honorable or impressive to 6-0 a player who's at 1358? Probably not. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I get crit there. Which means I can wake up and go for Rest. And yeah, we're PP stalling. PP stalling for 300 subs, baby. That's what we like to see. At some point, I'm going to bite this off and go to Celebi. I'm pretty sure. I wake up, I go for Rest. And I think at this stage, I'm just like, forget it. I'm going to freaking Celebi at this stage. No, maybe not on this loop. Whatever. My opponent's not going for Ice Beams anymore, and they're running out of Earthquakes. Which is kind of cool. What Pokemon should I do next? Maybe this is the comments that I need to generate some algorithm momentum here. If you're here this long, well, first of all, you should be subscribed. I mean, come on, you're not watching 2 hours of Tetrafolium and not gonna subscribe, man. Come on. Do you watch 2 hours of other YouTubers and not subscribe to them? Well, actually, you probably do. But in any case, if you've made it this far, go ahead and leave some comments about what Pokemon you want to see that I haven't covered yet. There's still plenty of UUBL Pokemon. There's still some decently usable lower tier Pokemon. Like Glalie, for example, gets some pretty decent use. It's pretty well respected as a spiker. I don't know how much more I have to say about Glalie as compared to other YouTubers, particularly Jim Cool, who is a decently big Glalie fan. But I could make some things work. Now I don't want to get into the point where I'm doing like absolutely shitter tier Pokemon, like, you know, what would be like Pidgeot. You know, is there much of a use case for Pidgeot in this generation OU? Not really. So I don't know how much I would have to say about that, other than it just being like super like cheesy with, I don't know, like Feather Dance or something. But yeah, no, leave some comments. Your favorite UUBL Pokemon that I haven't covered yet, and maybe I'll get around to it. And actually, I decide, no, I'm gonna valiantly finish off your Swampert with my Swampert, and we found the line to get there on turn 66, and we preserve this 6-0. So yeah, there you go. This team has the 6-0 potential, especially when the opponent sacks their entire Blissey to a special offense team for no reason. Um, please don't do that. Please, Blissey is one of the most valuable Pokemon in the entire tier. It can stop an entire team on its own. Look at this. Look at this team. If Metagross is down, if Regice is not able to get its boom off, like Blissey's really tough. That's why we have Metal Sound Zapdos on a special offense team, though, is that it can uh, impede the ability of Blissey to 1v1 an entire team. If I get the Metal Sound off, then Blissey is eventually going to have to switch because I'll be doing too much damage. Well, I don't quite 2-hit KO with Zapdos or most of the really any of the Pokemon on my team. Zapdos is obviously the strongest special attacker, unboosted, but like -2 Blissey against Suicune, who's Calm Minding up to max. Like, no, Blissey's not gonna win that 1v1. It's probably not even gonna win the 1v1 versus Calm Mind Suicune in general, especially if it doesn't have Calm Mind of its own, or Thunderbolt of its own. But yeah, that's the team, and I had a lot of fun with this. I want to thank Ephemeral Style for inspiring the Zapdos set, even though he has no clue. He's probably not even watching this video. Um, and he knows nothing about ADV really. Well, other than what I tell him because I am autistically hyper focused on, or hyper fixated, I should say, on this generation. So, yeah, my autism is your profit, everyone. That's a very strange way to put it. No, but yeah. That's kind of it, and we will hopefully see you for the next video, which should be going back to my roots of examining some underloved, underrepresented Pokemon. But this was really fun. I would love to do another video on a highly ranked Pokemon if you guys like to see this sort of stuff. I know that you do because you watched my Doom Desire Jirachi video. So whether you know it or not, you love hearing about a highly ranked Pokemon. So yeah, that's enough stalling for watch time. You've given me enough as is, and thank you once again for 300. Here's to hopefully 500 soon, and then I can apply for a partnership. That would be really cool. So see you guys next time.